We are live. I think we are. And hello, everyone, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And by gosh, here we are doing another Native American myths and legends. And this is number 7, by gosh. And with me is my co-host, Hawkeye Two Feathers, David Null.
Greetings, everybody, and blessings to all, and hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for showing up tonight.
Well, I am glad that you all could make it. We got a bunch of stuff, and as always, we got history stuff, we got myths, we got stuff that's going to be from Coyote, and we got stuff for the creation again, and I got some stuff on all of that. Let's see, I got several books. I got this book, which is the Mythology of North America, and by John Bearhorst. And I got a new book, everyone. This cool book. Yes, this cool book, which I got some stuff picked out. It's small, but this is a really neat book. And we're going to talk a little bit about some medicine stuff. And that's pretty cool. And then I picked out another little section. I got a paragraph here, and this is about the Serpent Messenger summon the rain gods. Now that should be interesting. I guess y'all like that. And I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight to join us in the chat. I'm getting everything set up here. And we got Lucky Stone, who is prospering, and much prosperity to you, Lucky. I tell you, Deborah Truax, thank you for coming. Haven't seen you in a while. Delaney Pearl Jones, hello, all the way to Wisconsin. Doug Stack, yay. And Jules is in the house. And Steve Slightly Slanted is in the house. And Witch Moon is in the house. Travis the Brick and Isby. Yes, thank you for coming, Isby. I missed the tail end of Ryder Lee's show. I got to get Ryder back on one of these days. Boy, he's had some really good guests. Those two that he just had on were awesome. But anyway, if you didn't catch Ryder Lee's show, he's on everywhere. He's on Odyssey and iTunes. I don't know if he's on iTunes yet, but he's I watch him on like Spotify or listen to him, and he's of course on his YouTube channel. So go check out Ryder. He's awesome. Steve, that puppy chews on everything. You got to get it a chew bone because it'll chew your shoes. It'll chew. I got the one puppy. It's chewing the boards on the stool, and it'll chew papers. It'll chew your shoes. It'll chew and chew and chew. It's called teething. Puppies do that. Yes. And so anyway, and Max Vision's in the house, and Ray of Love 24 is in the house. Blessings of divine favor and unconditional love to all beautiful sovereign souls here now. I love that. That is very good. Thank you for coming. And Max, I'll have to get back with you. I got a guest this weekend, but I think we could schedule up something else unless you want to do a weekday show. Let me know. All right. But anyway, it'll have to be the weekend after. Besides, this weekend, Nina, believe it or not, has her show, and she is doing a costume contest. Don't tell Nina I got a costume. Yes, I'm going to come to the costume test, and I'm going to let y'all guess what I'm going to be. And it's a furry, I'll tell you what it is. It's a furry animal, and it's black and white, and it's not a puppy. If you guess it, you get the booby prize tonight. Anyway, oh yes, like Jules said, hit the thumbs up button. If you ain't subscribed, subscribe now, by gosh. And we're gonna have a good night. David, I tell you what, I want to hear your greetings and blessings again. You always do that from all of, I don't know how you say that, but you say it just so divinely.
Oh, thank you. Greetings and blessings to everyone. And I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many, many blessings in the universe. A lot of them are little small blessings, but they're there. So, and I'm grateful for all of you for being here. You're our friends and neighbors and relatives, and we love you. So have a good evening. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Nobody says that better than you. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to start out with some medicine stuff. I thought this was really interesting since, the world's in this worry hurled of hurt. And we've been talking about pharmacy and pharmaceutical stuff and what does it all mean and where did it all come from? Was it hocus pocus magic or whatever? But here's something that is just going to amaze you. And I'm sure you guys all know a lot of this stuff, but here we go. Snake root to cure snake. It's called Red Man's Materia Medica. Snake root to cure snake bites. Willow for fever. Tobacco for phlegma and other gross humors. So reads the Pharmaceutica of Indian medicine. From bark of root to leaf and of shrub, tribal healers drew on a rich array of botanicals about them. Tribal lore and trial and error yielded the medicines modern day science accords vitally to many. Nearly 200 yarbs and roots have gone into official compendiums. Willow bark, for example, contains the silicon now produced synthetically as the effective ingredient in aspirin. So without the Indians doing all that, you wouldn't have your aspirin every day. Indians recognize both natural and supernatural sources of ailments. Treatment was by individual practitioners, herbalists who handled symptoms, and medicine men who dealt with origins, and by the social approach of medicine societies. Pioneering whites had such a faith in Indian healing that by the 19th century, charlatans could reap success peddling Modoc oil, oil of sanctum biters, or Kickapoo cough syrup. The later, a concoction of rum and molasses. Go figure. So how do you like that? So where do you think 200 different roots and medicines come from? That would pretty much cure you from about everything. So the question is next I'm going to have to get me a book on Indian medicine, if they make such a thing.
There are, but many of the native, some of the native recipes, I'll say, for the use of some of these roots, and that word you were stumbling over earlier is pharmacopoeia.
Pharmacopoeia. There you go. Sorry about that.
I didn't want to I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's pharmacopoeia. But in the there are old versions of the pharmacopoeia, that 1870s, 80s, 90s in there, that are fairly reliable because they had, at least up to that point, they had attained all the Native American stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There were people that were active because they needed it, there were, there was Wyatt Earp and stuff like that. So they had to go out and sage and whatever they could find locally. Mm-hmm. That's how some of them probably found out about peyote and things, as far as painkillers and, but anyway.
Yeah, because didn't we talk about the last time that they actually didn't go out, they didn't have tobacco, they smoked just grass and stuff like that.
Different types of grasses. Yep.
Yeah.
And sometimes bark and roots. And yes, kind of chopped up and put into this, and that's what they smoked. So it was not tobacco like Virginia grown tobacco when the settlers came over. I'm sorry, the invaders came over. It took over, perfectly good. I was reading earlier in some things in that, the Cherokee Indian, for example, the tribes had their own councils, they had their own um, well, Declaration of Independence and their own constitution and their own money system. I mean, they were set up, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that Andrew Jackson and then Van Buren after him got rid of all the Indians was because they had such prime land. They had money and possessions. And because they were Cherokee, they just said, well, never mind. That's a good reason to throw you out. So, but, you know, they had houses and farmland and, you know, they were very intelligent and very much together. That's why they wanted to destroy them.
Yeah. Well,
They
I
were a
was,
threat.
oh yeah. Yeah. See, and that's a big difference from the West or the Eastern side to the Western side. I was just reading tonight a chapter in here about the California Indians, which we're not going to read about tonight, but they were all passive, just hunter-gatherer kind of people. They barely farmed. They walked around half naked all the time and just lived off the land in peace and harmony. There was like nothing that bothered them. And then the Spanish got there and they were just like, they just couldn't believe that these people just, they don't fight with each other. They just all harmonize. Like there was, you know, I guess that's where you get why the hippies are out in California. Must be the
attitude,
weather. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say that having been out on the West Coast for about a week, which was not nearly long enough, but I got a chance to feel what it's like out there. And I got to say, there's a different atmosphere and stuff out there. This honestly, truly is. I mean, with the sage and the different things and the rainforest, you know, and up in, you know, Washington and all the way down the coast, you know, and further up into Alaska too. But the fact that it's a rainforest and along the ocean, the Tlingit tribal member that I knew that was the legend keeper, he, Kashka, he had letters that he gave me over the years that that were from his brother, who still uses a canvas kayak to go out fishing in the sounds out there off of you know, out of Ketchikan, Alaska, and places up along in there. They still do the same thing. They go out and their hunting is in the ocean, you know.
Yeah. They were saying in here that they had these little kayak things or whatever boards, they would be on a board and like a surfboard almost. But anyway, they sailed so fast on these boards, it was like they were flying across the water, it said. So it was really beautiful, but we don't have time to read all of that tonight, but I thought it was really, really interesting on that. But yeah, it's amazing. But tonight we got the Serpent Messenger summon rain gods. You know, so I thought that this is kind of interesting because we're always talking about serpents and snake stuff and serpent stuff. And I know like out west, it's really dry. So just to make it rain, I guess that's a big priority, right? I guess. Anyway, okay, here we go. Fearsome painted priest of the Snake Society faces blackened with soot and chins daubed with white clay perform a Stone Age ritual to bring rain and abundant harvest to the parched Hopi mesas. One alive rattlesnake clamped in his teeth circles the village plaza 4 times, followed by a hugger who soothes the serpent with a feathered wand. On the sidelines, other priests undulate, growling a chant that seems to come from the bowels of the earth. About a dozen priests dance with snakes, then cast them in the plaza. The pile of reptiles, wriggling like soft, watery lightning, is sprinkled with cornmeal by Hopi women. Runners grab as many snakes as they can, hold on, and go off in 4 directions, releasing their charges in the desert. The Hopi believe their elder brothers will crawl down to the underworld and intercede with the rain gods. The origin of the ceremony is unknown, but prehistoric cult of the plumed serpent may have spread north from Mexico. According to Hopi legend, Tio, the snake youth, learned the mysterious rites in the underworld, then returned to the earth with a beautiful snake maiden as his wife. In Hopi belief, all members of the snake clan are their descendants. The spectacular dance is the climax of a 16-day ceremony held in August. Only a few white men have witnessed its secret kava rites, in which priests feed the reptiles pollen and wash them in yucca suds. How the Indians handle the snakes without harm, about a third are poisonous species, is uncertain. Theories abound. Most likely, priests allow the rattlers to strike objects in the kava before the ceremony. Hopi snake handlers, remarkably free of fear, do not believe the reptiles will bite a man with pure heart. But if a bite does occur, snake medicine heals the wound. Throngs of tourists, as well as neighboring Indians, view the sacred drama each year. Cameras have been banned since the early 1900s to protect the right from further commercialization. Most often than not, visitors have scarcely left the mesa when the skies open up and the rain comes, renewing life and the faith in the ancient pueblo for another year. So there you go. And they got a picture of the guy with the snake in his mouth. You can get up there, you can see that. There you go. You catch that? Look at that. Oh man, dancing around with a snake in your mouth, especially a rattlesnake. Boy, that guy's braver than crap. More than I can bite off and chew. You get it? Bite off and chew. Oh, I got one last book here, and I don't know where oh. Okay. What do you think of all of that?
Can I tell a story? It's still in the Native American tradition, but one story that I've told over the many years, and it is told by lots of folks, and was that there was a young Native boy who was going up the mountain for his vision quest. And when he got up towards the top of the mountain where the temperature had changed, he met a rattlesnake. Then the rattlesnake was freezing to death and begged the young brave to please take him back down where it was warmer. And so the young boy looked at him and he said, "But you're a rattlesnake, you'll bite me." And he goes, "No, I promise. Just take me down." And and so he said, "Well, okay." And he agrees. So he picks up the snake, carries him down the mountain to where it's warm again, and puts him down. Well, then the snake bites him. And so the young boy says, "Well, why did you do that?" And the rattlesnake said, "Because I'm a rattlesnake." Now that's where most people hear the story, but there's more to the story. The reason the rattlesnake bit him was because he somehow the boy died, but he transformed and he was brought into the rattlesnake clan in reward for the fact that the young man was so brave to have picked up the rattlesnake and carried him down the mountain. And so it was a reward. Well, but he died. The rattlesnake bit him, yes. But in the rest of the story, he is bitten because the rattlesnake wants to give him honor and invites him into the snake clan. So as part of the deal, now this young boy is transformed into a snake during the daytime, but he can revert back to his normal self at night. So it relates in a way to what you said, that it was he brought back a beautiful snake wife kind of thing. Well, in this, he goes to this waterfall, watering place, in the evening, where he's transformed into a young man, and there's a young maiden there. And so each night they meet, and she's like, "Well, come and see me in the daytime." And he said, "Well, I can't, it's hard to explain." So he said, "Okay, meet me here tomorrow." And she comes back, and there's this rattlesnake sitting exactly where he was sitting the night before. And she was like, "Who are you? What are you? Go away, snake." So that night he came back and he said, "I was here. Why did you run away?" And she said, "You mean you're a snake?" And he goes, "Yes." And he explained to her. So he invited her to go to the clan and meet his clan. But she said, "No, you must meet my father first." So he went as a brave, and in the evening, but then, so, "Oh, nice guy, good guy. Yeah, you two love each other," and all that. Then he took her to the snake clan. and was invited into the clan. So, but in the end, though, there was this peace between the snake and the Indian, because there was this merging. And it wasn't because he had done something wrong or because the snake was a snake. Yes, that's true. But at the same point, the rest of the story is so much more beautiful in that he was brought into the snake clan in honor of what he did, not because he was stupid, and that he was able, because of that honor, he was able to meet this beautiful young woman and bring her into the snake clan and the people. So in some of the stories, this goes back a long way about the snake clan, that not necessarily bad,
I totally get it. That makes a lot more sense. See, we just hear that little part of the story, and then you interpret it one way, when if you hear the rest of the story, it makes it totally change the meaning of it. Really. Right. It's a whole different story then.
Yeah, really. I mean, but it's so tragic. But here's another story from a different area, but that is similar to the snake and the brave, right? So it's a scorpion and a frog. And so the frog's, going around, and Scorpion comes up and he goes, "Hey, buddy, I really need a ride to the other side." And the frog looks at him and goes, "Yeah, but you're a scorpion. You'll bite me." And he goes, "No, I won't." And he goes, "Yeah, come on." He goes, "Well, how am I?" He said, "I'll just climb on your back and you just swim across and, and put me on the other side." So the frog finally agreed, and, the scorpion rode over. And then as soon as he jumped off, he turned around and bit him. And the frog looked at me before he, passed out and died, and said, "Why'd you do that?" And he goes, "Because I'm a scorpion. That's why." So in that story, that makes, that kind of ends right there.
Yeah.
The scorpion didn't invite him into the clan, and, but, but if you know the rest of this other story. So, but if you only hear that one portion, though, they both had the same kind of message, I guess.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense that way, because, it's teaching you a lesson, like, a scorpion's always a scorpion. There's no, I'm going to be a scorpion today and tomorrow I'm going to change my ways. You're always a scorpion.
You're always a scorpion. You can't help it that you're a scorpion, but you are a scorpion. And that's sort of like, planet Earth and Mother Earth. We live on top of a volatile planet. And people just, this and the record this. Listen, I'm sure we've had other rain bomb things, we've had NASA, listen, we're on a planet, we live on top of this thing.
Yes, a volatile planet that changes.
And it always has been.
The only thing, the problem that we have is that our lifespan is so short in retrospect of what the universe and the earth is, that the small amount of time that we're here, a lot of us don't get to experience so many things, because unless they actually happen. Like what was it, somebody was talking about the 1816, there was a year with no sun because of a volcano erupted. Well, how many of us lived in 1816? None of us. And how many of us can remember it? None of us, because we didn't live it. Even in our past lives, do you remember 1816? For sure, really? And then to top it off, we can read about it, but it's not the same as being there. You're like, oh yeah, it was a year without a winter. And so we just slough it off like, oh, well, so the crops didn't grow. Hey, we're still here. I don't know what it's like to go hungry. I don't know what it's like to see people dying of starvation, or the crops failing, or the life being, what was snuffed out, and not seeing the sun for a whole season. We can't even fathom that. But when it happens to us, oh my goodness, it's going to be a catastrophe, because we're so used to the normalcy,
Right. Well, here's something. I bring it up at times just to sort of remind people, because it's never brought up as a catastrophe. But in the Midwest, during the days of the Dust Bowl, people say, well, that was back in the days of Woody Guthrie and and the train songs and all those people, and how the West just turned into this giant piece, giant desert, that was a grassland and all this, and how many people were displaced, and how many people died of starvation, how many people lost their homes and their crops, and and that was just back in the 20s. That's only been 100 years ago. That's
they said
in a lifetime, but nobody ever talks about the Great Dust Bowl.
Yeah, during the Great Depression. Oh yeah, during the Great Depression, they said 1 million people starved to death in the United States. Go figure. And yet we don't talk about that.
And that's with the Depression, and then with the Dust Bowl. In that general same kind of period,
Yeah.
So we went through America went through some really tough times, almost within, Captain Kirk is 90 years old and went to space finally. I think that's off topic, but but at the same point, he's been around long enough to almost remember that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, isn't it something? He was born in a time when cars were just getting, just kind of getting going. And then he was in the movies, and he was actually a space captain. And now he actually got to live long enough to go to space. How ironic can that be?
I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too.
If I'd have been rich enough, I'd have paid for his trip. Just for the hell of it. I don't even know the guy. But, they should take Zulu up there. I think he's still alive, right?
I think they should have put them all in the rocket and sent them up.
Yeah, and said, hey, y'all have a good trip, man. I mean, they've made enough money for enough people that the company should have just got together and said, you guys have made us trillions of dollars and still do. Listen, here, this one's on us.
How much you want to bet somebody paid Captain Kirk to go? Because that was like the best advertisement for going to space ever.
I don't think they had to pay him. I mean, they might have paid for his trip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I think he got
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure he got a free trip, because that was like the best advertisement that you couldn't buy better advertisement than Captain Kirk going to space, because people will be talking about that from now till when.
It'll go down in the history books. Literally,
it will.
They'll keep that one.
Oh yeah, that one will be in the history books for sure. I know I sure won't forget it, even after he's long dead gone. So anyway, now for our depressing history. And then can go to some stories, because I always got something about the Indians, and then I got something really depressing.
Because whiz. Thanks for filling.
Yeah, well, they were always mistreated so badly, and
right.
and it seems like that first book I read was all good stuff, and then this book here is all about the Indians literally getting killed or being killed, and tragedies. It's terrible. Okay, so you guys are all going to recognize this one, but this is something that you don't normally hear, and that's why I want to read it. Okay, the Navajo. This is about the Navajos. The Navajos came to the Southwest as nomads from the Canadian North over 500 years ago. From the Pueblo Indians, they learned farming. From the Spaniards, at the later date, sheep herding. But as early as 1846, when the United States moved into New Mexico, the Navajos were threatening both white settlers and their peaceful Indian neighbors. Finally, in June 1863, frontiersman Kit Carson invaded their homeland. He had only 700 soldiers to subdue an estimated 10,000 Indians, but willing Pueblo allies joined Carson, and by the following April, having destroyed the Navajos' cornfields and slaughtering their herds, he had reduced the hostiles to starvation. Some 7,000 Navajos were taken as prisoners to Fort Sumter on the Pecos River. The plan was to send them to Oklahoma, but in 1868, moved by their plea to be returned to their beloved mesas and canyons, the United States set aside a Navajo reservation on the New Mexico-Arizona border. Since 1868, the Navajos have kept their promise to remain at peace. Industrious sheep herders, they have developed huge flocks. Imaginative artisans, they have one renowned for their beautiful weaving and exquisite silver work. Today, they're with a population estimated at 80,000. They are the country's largest Indian tribe. There you go. So go figure. I did not know after I read that they actually came from Canada. I thought they were just plains Indians. They were like kind of desert dwelling people. And I didn't know that Kit Carson was the guy leading the charge on rounding them all up. So that blew my mind. So that's why I had to bring that to everybody's attention. So,
and here is the reason he could do so. They had rifles and the Indians had bows and arrows. Absolutely. How could they subdue that many people? It was because they were supplied. They had 700 rifles with repeating rifles by that time, by 1868.
Yeah.
So, and having come out of the Civil War by then, there was ammunition and stuff, and and them 700 troops probably knew how to shoot too. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
but to the point. So, but how could they do that in such a short time? That's how.
Well, yeah, well, don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
That's right. And see, the Indians didn't start getting rifles until after that. It was into the the 1870s and 80s that the big push out west after the Civil War. So a lot of guns started going out west to get rid of the Indians. So all the Civil War stuff and everything, they started moving all that west after the war. So yeah.
See, that's the part the Indians in a way never really had a chance.
Nope.
Because of the fact that you can't take the enemy's weapons and then use them against him, because he's always got more. Because the thing is no matter how good the Indians were or how many guns they had, where are you going to get the bullets from the white man?
They still had to rely on the white man to get them.
Yeah, so there was no win.
Capture it or trade it or something. They still had to deal with the white man, which is one of the things that Sitting Bull and some of them realized. We're never going to get out of this.
Yeah, it's just it's a circle, a vicious circle. We get the guns, we get the bullets, we got to make friends with the white man. Then we go fight the white man, and then the white man. We got to trade with the white man to get bullets and guns. And then we shoot the white, and then they shoot us, and then pretty soon there's none of us and lots of them, and they just have an unending supply because the factories make the guns. Right. The Indian could shoot 5 arrows in a row, but the gun, he's sitting there a mile away going, like he didn't even get close.
That's right.
So yeah. Jill Jarrett says genocide
and the red man's warrior attitude, because there was honor in being a good warrior. And so, it's a good day to die. Okay, so if they went to war for any reason, they were prepared spiritually, which, most folks don't get still to this day. But I've met several Navajo. I met a Navajo code talker many years ago at the Marine base in Albany, Georgia. And we got to sit in at a dinner on his honor. And very strict Marine still to this day kind of thing. I think he's since passed, but I've had several Navajo friends over the years that I've met through powwows and such. And they join the Marines more than any other group. Mm-hmm. Almost every Navajo boy grows up to be a warrior, and they join the Marines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that, but because if they can't, in the old days, they had ways to prove their bravery, by killing a mountain lion or doing something, and so.
Yeah, well, and that's the way to get. I suppose that's the way to get honor, and
in
You gotta
their
do something.
culture. And so a lot of people just don't understand that, but so they go to war for honor.
Mhm.
But and they make excellent warriors and all that. But anyway, so um the spirit led me to the back of this book tonight, but it also led me to this um other little short story. So
Mhm.
Robert, if you'd be so kind as to go to this page.
Yep. Hang on. I'm getting
Oh,
there.
no problem. It's on page 143. And the
All right.
name of it is Keeping Warm in a Bag. And with winter
Okay.
coming on, it just seemed to be appropriate. It's not a very
Keeping.
long story.
I gotta get there.
You're there.
143? No, no, no.
No, that's the
I'm at,
wrong one. Sorry.
yeah, I thought we were doing the other one.
Yeah, I'm going to start off with a positive kind of,
Yeah.
then I'm going to make you go back to that.
I know, I was already there. I was like, while you were talking,
You should have just said
searching.
I would have swapped, but
Okay, well, that's all right. We got no worries. We got plenty of time. And it's just all my, well, look at that. It popped right up. Keeping warmth in a bag.
okay, let me get something to drink here and salute everybody. And we're glad you're here tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now,
Okay,
here's
whenever you're
one
ready.
thing that's very important that I would like to continue to stress. These are stories that have been told for centuries and centuries and centuries, okay? And it's very important that people say, well, they're legends. Well, okay, but they've been telling them for a long time. In the beginning, before there were people, there was a long winter. The sun remained hidden by low black clouds. It never stopped snowing. The sky was black and the earth was white with snow and ice. After this had been going on for 3 years, all the animals got together for a big council about what they should do. They were freezing and starving to death. All the four-legged animals, the winged ones, and the scaly creatures of the sea attended. The animals agreed that it was the lack of heat, the absence of warmth, which made the winter go on and on. They saw that no bears had come to the council and realized that, in fact, no bears had been seen for 3 years. One wise animal said, maybe the bears have something to do with our suffering. Maybe they're keeping the warmth to themselves. Let's go and find out. So they formed a search party consisting of the wolf, the fox, the wolverine, the bobcat, the mouse, the pike, and the dogfish. At this time, the bears were living in an upper world high above the earth. The search party was lucky enough to find a hole in the sky through which the animals could enter. Wandering about in the upper world, they came to a lake. On its shore stood a hut with a fire burning in front of it, and inside they found 2 bear cubs huddling together. Where's your mother? The animals asked. She went out hunting, answered the little bears. The visitors looked around and saw a number of bags hanging from poles. The bobcat pointed to the first one and said, what's in this bag? Well, our mother keeps rain in that one, answered the cubs. And in this one, inquired the mouse, it's full of winds. Ah, and that one over there, said the fox. Oh, she keeps fog in that one. And this one here, said the wolverine. What does she keep in this bag? Oh, we can't tell, said the cubs. It's a secret. Mother told us not to let anybody know what's in that bag. Oh, come on now, we're friends, said the wolf. You can tell us. No, no, mother would beat us if we tell. But she doesn't have to find out, said the bobcat. We won't tell on you. Well, in that case, said the cubs, this is the bag where she keeps the heat. Thank you, kind little bear, said the mouse. You told us all we wanted to know. The party of animals went outside and held a council. They resolved to hide so that the old bear would not see them when she came home. But first the mouse jumped into the bear's canoe and gnawed almost entirely through the handle of the paddle. At last they saw the mother on the far side of the lake. The bobcat quickly ran around the lake and changing himself into a plump caribou calf, appeared in front of the mother. Quick, quick, children, the bear mother shouted. Help me catch the caribou for our dinner. The cubs came scrambling out and scurried to their mother as fast as they could run. The bobcat lured them deep into the forest. Meanwhile, the other animals went into the hut, jerked the bag down from its pole, and made off with it, pulling and tugging. The caribou bobcat ran back to the lake and jumped into the water, which swam toward the hut on the opposite shore. The bear mother leapt into her canoe and paddled furiously after it, but halfway across the lake, her paddle snapped in two at the spot where the mouse had gnawed it. The bear pitched into the water and upset the canoe. In the meantime, the bobcat reached the shore and assumed his usual shape. Hurry, he told the others, the bear will be after us. The animals took turns pulling the heavy bag full of heat toward the opening that led to their world below. When one of them got tired, he passed the burden to another. By then, the old bear was hot after them, and all the bigger animals were exhausted. But the pike and the dogfish were still fresh. And at the very last moment, with the bear's teeth snapping at their heels, they managed to pull the bag through the hole in the sky. The whole party slipped safely through the opening. As soon as they were down into their own world, they tore the bag open. At once, the heat rushed out, spreading in every direction, melting the snow and ice and dispersing the black clouds and making the sun shine again. However, the melting water caused a great flood which covered the world and threatened to drown all the living creatures. At this time, the earth had a giant tree which reached high into the sky, almost to the world above. To save themselves, the animals climbed to its highest branches and cried, "Somebody help us!" Out of nowhere appeared a giant fish who drank up all the flood water, in the process himself becoming a great mountain. After that, the sun dried up the land, the trees covered themselves with leaves, the flowers bloomed, and it was summer again, to the joy of all the creatures.
Well, by gosh, that was pretty darn good.
Interesting, eh?
Yes, 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 it was.
And Spirit just said, hey, please read this tonight. And so I've read a little bit of it while you were talking earlier, but basically I read that story cold. But you know, there's a flood story for you.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty cool being a flood story, because I didn't realize it was going to be a flood story until you got to the part where the heat came out and melted all the ice. I thought, oh, I know what's happening now.
But then a giant fish came out of nowhere and swallowed up the water and became a mountain. Now that's like, wow, that's wow, well, wow, wow. You know, because I mean, I just read it for the first time all the way through myself. So I'm sitting here going, that's an interesting story. So, but, and you know, Robert bought me this book, and so we could do this. And I thank you so much, Robert. It's been thoroughly enjoyable to me, and I hope it has to other folks too. Now, I want to go back.
Oh yeah, this has been a great book. I mean, I really thoroughly enjoy it because we get so many. I mean, it hasn't been, you know, like one story. There's multiple stories in it. I mean, it's a huge book. I don't know where my copy's here somewhere.
Yeah, I got mine right here, but you all can.
Yeah. Yep. This is the book.
Better like than I do.
And it is really, it's a nice book. I mean, it's really worded good. The picture, I mean, it's pictures, but it's worded nice. I like it. You know, I mean, it's really easy to read.
It's a nice book. It really
of course,
is.
if you don't have the book and you just want the PDF, I have the PDF and I'll send it to you. All you got to do is send me an email. The email description's in below. Check that out, and you can have the book, or you can order it. I got mine on eBay. I think it's on Amazon too. So There you go.
But in the back of this same book that we're discussing in the appendix, discusses all the different types of Indian tribes, their names. And as I was going through here, I was like, you know, there's the Iroquois and folks up in the Northeast, but there's very little, you know, about the Cherokee, and, you know, nothing about the Creek or the Seminole, or you know, all these stories have come from the West and Northwest.
Yeah.
And a lot of these tribes, as it says in here, came out of Canada. Now, here's my question, just as a, you know, if all these tribes came out of Canada and Canada was frozen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the stories say that when the ice melted, they moved south. I would have thought it would, you know, when the ice came, they moved south, you know, but
Yeah.
the stories don't say that.
No, they don't.
And I scratch my head and go, where were all these people up in Canada? What were they living on? I mean, you know, if it's the ice age, and so what are they doing up there, you know?
Yeah. Well, what then that makes a difference. Was it, you know, was it warmer there and then the ice age came and then the ice melted? I mean, you know, what's the timeline here?
Exactly.
We just assume it's you know, they were living in Canada and they decided to go south, like, hey, it's getting kind of cold here, let's go.
Right. So, and that is a part of the story that could have got slightly mismanaged over the years in this in the telling of it.
Yeah.
But the fact that they came from Canada, but every one of these tribes has got folks from Canada. And I'm like, there was a bunch of people in Canada that came down, you know, but no, they're not talking about anybody coming from the South up. It just, I found that interesting, but that's in the appendix of this book. So I wanted to go back to, it's kind of sort of the end of the world kind of thing, but in a way it's not.
Okay.
Because this, can you go all the way back down to that fourth?
I sure can. Just give me a wee bit of second to get to there. What page did you say we were at? 465?
67, yeah, the next one.
Oh, okay. What's it called here? Well, I'm at 67.
It's part 10. Only the rocks and mountains last forever.
The spirit, I got the spirit wife. 67. Okay, hang on a second.
It's 467.
Yeah, I'm on 467. Oh, that's 449. It's telling me 460. No wonder why I gotta look at the page number. Sorry.
Oh, instead of the
I'm
PDF
looking at
number. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. Okay, hang on. And okay, I'm good. I think we're on. Only the rocks and mountains last forever. Correct?
Yep. No, I don't wish to. I'm not reading this because I wish to bring, you know, this negative attitude towards things, but there's a deeper meaning to, you know, oh, we all might die and this and that and the other thing. Yeah, well, okay, but with the simple statement that only the rocks and mountains last forever. So, you know, as an overall spiritual thing, we need to understand that we're not going to last forever, not at least in this form. We, you know, reincarnation, we can come back, but to the point that this time around, we're not going to last as long as a rock or a mountain. So anyway, the great Oglala leader, Crazy Horse, used to shout on his way into battle, "A good day to fight and a good day to die." Bobtail Horse of the Cheyennes, faced with a mission which would probably cost him his life, remarked casually, "I am not afraid. I have already thrown my life away." Elderly Cheyenne warriors, weary of the misery and boredom of old age, made elaborate preparations to end their lives in battle. Yet accepting death was also an affirmation of life. For Crazy Horse also said he could die willingly because all the things he held dear, the sun, the land, the buffalo, were close by. His willingness to die was part of his way of honoring the human spirit. It was the lot of all people. As Sioux warriors acknowledged, only the rocks and mountains last forever. Men must die. Death enters the world in many guises. The Blackfoot creator, Old Man, introduces it as an inherent component of life when fashioning the first men and women. Coyote, in the Cato legend, encounters death as a whirlwind, but he too acknowledges its crucial role in life. Individuals are not the only ones to perish. Nations and cultures crumble in mythic images, besieged from within and from without. A Cheyenne proverb says, "A nation is not lost so long as its women's hearts are high. But if ever the women's heart should be lost, then the nation dies." Many stories tell of the coming of the white man with his railroads and armies, and of the disastrous consequences for the Indian. For the Sioux, his arrival meant the end of the buffalo, and with them, an entire way of life. Men and women die, nations disappear, and even the destruction of the world itself is foretold in apocalyptic images of the end time. The eradication of the world by flood or fire is a widespread motif across the continent, but it is usually accompanied by tokens of renewal. This is important. That it is usually accompanied by tokens of renewal. For the end of this world does not mean the end of everything, but merely the passing of one state and the arrival of the next. Just as other worlds were destroyed to make way for the one we live in now. A Hopi prophecy foretells that when the blue star Kachinas dance in the village plazas, then the end will be near. And when a special song is heard during the Wuwu Chim ceremony, then the world will be plunged into war. This song was heard before the outbreak of World War I and II, and it will be heard again just before the outbreak of World War III. Then everything will be destroyed except the Four Corners area in which the Hopi live. From there, a new world will start. The end of this world in which we are living now will come when people fly through the sky, trying to reach the stars, when the sun turns black, and when the Hopis travel to the house of Micah. This particular vision was embraced in a rather dramatic way in the recent years when in the 1970s, a Hopi delegation traveled to New York to address a warning to the United Nations. One Hopi spokesman, when passing through Gary, Indiana, saw the sun hidden by clouds of smoke rising from many smokestacks. The sun he was seeing was black. When he saw the United Nations building for the first time, he knew that he had arrived at the house of Micah and that the old prophecies would be fulfilled. There will be last warning, earthquakes, eclipses, volcanic eruptions, and if this warning is not heeded, then the people of the world do not take better care of it. This world will be wiped out and a new one will take its place. Long before the days of world wars or atomic weapons, however, a Paiute medicine man had another vision of a new world. In 1890, he witnessed the second major outbreak of the apocalyptic ghost dance. In 1870, tribes in California and the far west had taken up the great ceremonial dance for the first time in many years, and now it swept with increased fervor throughout the plains. While the dancers imbued it with more violent tone in the east, where Indian tribes suffered the most severe stress from the incursions of the whites, the first dancers began with more peaceful intent. The medicine man Wovoka spoke of a fantastic vision of a world cleansed and renewed with green grass and spring rains and returned whole again to the Indian people. The dead returned from the north, driving before them great herds of game and buffalo, and all the people in the world thrived without death or illness. There would be great fellowship and brotherhood between all the tribes and between man and animal. Unfortunately, this vision was shattered in the cold and bloody snow of Wounded Knee in December of 1890, and little progress seems to have been made towards reaching it again since then. The belief that that it will come someday, however, endures, and with it the vitality of Wovoka's image of all people in the world joining hands and dancing together in a single harmonious circle, a peaceful world for all its creatures.
Well, there you go. There you go. Wow.
Now that was just the introduction. That's not really a story, but that's just the introduction to this section. But when I read this earlier, I thought, wow, this is pretty dang moving.
It is. It is.
You know, and as I read it, I was like, well, holy crap. So, you know, but that's the Hopi. So there are other folks with other things and other, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So how much time, how are we for time?
We got about an hour, 56 minutes so far today. Wow, time is flying. Wow, you want to do one more short one? We can do one more short one. How many people want to do a short one or another one? You had a coyote one you wanted to do, didn't you?
Yeah, there's one here. It's the Coyote and the Origin of Death. And it's
I love
like a page.
I
and
love
like
Coyote.
One more page down from where we were. So it's not a big jump.
Okay.
It's like on 470.
All right, here we go. 470.
Now this is Cato, and it's from a tale reported by George A. Dorsey in 1905. So some of these stories have been retold by people in the 40s, 50s, and even into the 70s or whatever. But some of these stories go back, you know, when they were written down to, you know, the turn of the last century. So, you know. Oh, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
Set to go.
Coyote and the Origin of Death. In the beginning of this world, there was no such thing as death. Everybody continued to live until there were so many people that the earth had no room for any more. The chiefs held a council to determine what to do. One man rose and said he thought it would be a good plan to have the people die and be gone for a little while, then return. As soon as he sat down, Coyote jumped up and said he thought people ought to die forever. He pointed out that this little world is not large enough to hold all the people, and that if the people who died came back to life, there would be no food enough for all. All the other men objected. They said that they did not want their friends and relatives to die and be gone forever, for then they would grieve and worry, and there would be no happiness in the world. Everyone except Coyote decided to have people die and be gone for a little while, and then come back to life again. The medicine men built a large grass house facing the east. When they had completed it, they called the men of the tribe together and told them that people who died would be restored to life in the medicine house. The chief medicine man explained that they would sing a song calling the spirit of the dead to the grass house. When the spirit came, they would restore it to life. All the people were glad because they were anxious for the dead to come and live with them again. When the first man died, the medicine men assembled in the grass house and sang. In about 10 days, a whirlwind blew from the west and circled above the grass house. Coyote saw it, and as the whirlwind was about to enter the house, he closed the door. The spirit of the whirlwind, finding the door closed, whirled on by. And this way, Coyote made death eternal, and from that time on, people grieved over their dead and were unhappy. Now, whenever anyone meets a whirlwind or hears the wind whistle, he says, "Someone is wandering about." Ever since Coyote closed the door, the spirits of the dead have wandered over the earth trying to find some place to go, until at last they discovered the road to the spirit land. Coyote ran away and never came back, for when he saw what he had done, he was afraid. Ever after that, he has run from one place to another, always looking back, first over one shoulder and then over the other, to see if anyone is pursuing him. And ever since then, he has been starving, for no one will give him anything to eat. Now, that's a very interesting twist on stuff, that Coyote closed the door before but it's a story of reincarnation.
Yeah.
Look, there's too many of us. Some of us are going to die for a while, and then you guys can do, but we'll come back, and then you guys go, and then we'll be trading off. So, but that's a story of reincarnation.
Yeah.
From a Native American's point of view, like, wow. So in these stories and in these, quote, what people talk as myths and legends, there are things that for me correspond with teachings from the other side of the world, because the people in North and South America were separated from the Chinese, the Japanese, all the Eases, all the folks in Africa and everything, until the white man crossed the ocean.
Yeah.
That's it. So
much.
they had both continents were separated from the, quote, rest of the known world. And that's why they were considered savages. But so with that said, though, their concept of the world and everything was totally removed from all these centuries of building and weapons and guns and boats and all this, where Native Americans still to this day don't really see too much point in all that, though they do drive in cars, and though they do like to heat their houses, and though they do like their TV, but so these things go way back. We heard a flood story, and how the bear kept the warmth. I've read a bunch of stories about bear, but a hole in the sky, and they lived in the up above. So, and that's interesting too, because what does that up above mean? Does it mean this planet? Does it mean this Earth? Or does it mean like another place, like a Stargate kind of thing?
Yeah, it does kind of intrigue you when you start talking about the different. You notice the animals are always climbing up to the ceiling, or to the sky, or through a hole, or
up above the clouds.
Yeah.
Above the world, above the clouds. It's almost like Jack and the Beanstalk and the Giant Tail. He climbs up the beanstalk, and there's this world above the clouds, and so and the Native Americans were separated from the folks over there that told the story of Jack and the Beanstalk and the world above the clouds. You know what I'm saying? So they had similar stories, but the cultures never met.
Yep. So, and then did you notice in that one you were reading, it said that bobcat changed into a caribou?
Yeah.
Which was really strange, because it's like, oh, so the animals can just change because they're animal spirit kind of things. I don't know.
Some of the animals could. And depending on the tribe and depending on the stories and whatever, there were those who could, who could transmute, change, whatever, And so, but to that point, it's like, that was interesting too. Like, here, let me come over here, and I'm going to make you believe that I'm a caribou, and you're going to chase me,
Yeah.
And so, in a way, I would have thought that Coyote would have done that as the trickster, but but anyway, bobcat, yeah. And some of the information and stuff, I haven't found a lot of information like I have other critters on the bobcat. And I just scratch my head and go, But anyway, there's lynx and and mountain lion, and but and not much like Florida used to have. I think they may still have in some places the black Florida panther, and also Georgia had a panther. probably still do have some, because there's a creek named Panther Creek up here in South Georgia, and it's because there were panthers on it back in the old days. So we didn't have mountain lions, but we did have panthers. And, you know, so, but there are no panther stories per se, you know. But like I said, a lot of the stories from like Seminole and the Creek and Cherokee, all the stories that are told are all from the West, you know. There are very few Cherokee Southern, and I think it's because of the Trail of Tears. Because they disrupted all these peoples and moved them, that a lot of the elders died. So the stories went with them. So the younger people who did survive didn't get a chance to hear all the stories.
Think of how much information was lost. You know, I mean, it just blows my mind, you know, how much information and things were lost. Well, but that goes throughout history. Yeah, I've been reading this book, which I'll share with you guys when I finish it pretty soon. Oh man, I want somebody else to come on with that. Man, I got to find somebody who's a good historian, because it really talks about, like, I was reading about the tunnels. I was reading about, you know, all around the earth, the pyramids. It's got everything in there, you know, all these different machinery things that they've had, you know, that nobody sees and talks about, things they find, you know, all this technology and how these connections really were, the world wasn't as separated as we kind of believe. And I think what they're getting at in this book is, at one point in time, the earth was just like it is now, very connected, in maybe not the same way we are connected, but it was still very connected. And then there was something that happened that people forgot, and things changed, and then they weren't connected anymore. And then time went by, and those connections were forgotten, lost. It seemed like those were more myths and legends and scary stories than anything else, because nobody understood anything, because that knowledge like died off. And that's what I get out of this book is that it seems like everything was connected, and then all of a sudden it was severed, just like that, and people forgot. But again, look at us. If the electricity and the cell phone and the internet went out, and there was some kind of catastrophe, we'd all be severed and separated. There would be probably a lot of looting and starving and fighting. And then, you know, if you didn't have vehicles and gas and all that stuff would run out, everybody would huddle in little communities and make their own little tribes, and with the people that were left. And the next thing you know, we'd have, you know, a bunch of separated people.
Yeah. We'd have folks with ham radios and CB radios and stuff like that when all the other stuff go down. But if you're not into ham radio or CB radio, because your cell phone ain't going to work, but you know, my CB radio will work in my truck. You know, all I got to do is crank it up. Now I might run out of gas, but I got solar panels that will recharge my 12-volt battery. So I will always have my CB radio, you know. So the idea that if I'm cut off, well, I still got my radio, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, there are still people out there that still do CB radio. So but the connection in the way old days, back in the 30s and 40s, people had, you know, wireless radio sets that, you know, shortwave, because that was the only way to communicate long distance with anybody before the telephone got there.
Yeah, well, I have a CB radio, I have a small ham radio, but here's the bad part about that. It's a good and bad. Now with the CB radio, that's great. It goes a little ways. Ham radio goes a little farther. And then what I'm trying to get at is, if things do go bad, pretty soon your batteries are going to die. Like you said, your gas will run out of your car, and sooner or later, well, then the ham radio don't work, and the CB don't work, because the batteries are dead. You can only recharge the battery so many times. And if it's that much separation, it's pretty soon, then what good is it if you can't travel, right? Maybe you can talk to somebody 10, 20 miles away, 50, 100 even, But then if you can't travel there because you don't have any gas in your car and electricity or anything, well, it makes it impossible. It's worthless. It's like, hey,
The
right?
only thing it's really good for is to find out what trouble other people are in.
Well, yeah, exchange
So
information. Yeah,
the radio would be more as a, yes, you can communicate. Thank God there's somebody still alive. Okay, how you doing, Bob? Hi, Bob. By the way, we haven't said hi to Bob in a while. And since it's so close to Halloween, we all got to say ween for that. But the idea, though, that people used to communicate with carrier pigeons, and they had runners, they had people, so maybe between back in the Civil War days, they had sort of like Pony Express, but the mailman was a guy on a horseback with letters in a saddlebag, and they traveled from town to town to town to town. There's that movie called The Postman.
The Postman,
with Kevin Costner and folks in it, and it's futuristic and all this kind of stuff, but you scratch your head and go, yeah, but what if? What if there is no communication for whatever the reason? Then people on horseback, like the Pony Express, would kind of sort of be the obvious choice. If you didn't have a car, or what I mean, if everything else broke down, then somebody on horseback, we go back to that answer. So, and for those who haven't watched The Postman, it's an interesting movie.
Yeah, well, yeah. I've watched bits and pieces. I've never actually watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I sat down recently to watch it all the way through because I was like, there's stuff in here. They always put things in movies, and I hadn't seen the movie in a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was just interesting how they treated certain subjects. And I was like, okay, But anyway.
But yeah, but that's all futuristic. But that was kind of like that one. What was it? That one you read about the rocks or something. Anyway, it was that one with the the apocalyptic view of things.
Right.
The world will be created. It would and I keep telling people, yeah, it ain't. People think the world is just going to be destroyed, and it's not going to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed of what we know. There's always people that survive, and then the world will be rebuilt from those people into a new society, and the whole process starts over again.
Right.
Over and over. And then it's up to, those people to rebuild society better, or who knows, maybe darker. And that's the thing too, is depending on who survives. I mean, if good people survive, it's going to be a good, positive world until they corrupt it. If bad people survive, can you imagine what kind of horrible, corrupt world it'll start out being right off the bat?
Yep.
So,
but there's always going to be somebody that's going to want to be the boss. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's always going to be that A-type personality, the a-hole. But I know best. Well, wait a minute, maybe you don't. We calm down, But I think the world and the universe has already gotten a really big wake-up call, because just today and in the last few days, the rollout in the public schools for the kids to get their thing is not going over well. The city of New York today is one of the cities. The folks from General Electric walked out and said, nope. The people of New York City, the employees of the city, walked across the Brooklyn Bridge in protest saying, nope.
Yeah. So,
if people think that America is just kind of giving up and just going along with this, and that ain't true.
I agree. Yeah.
True. So whatever happens out of this, though, with all them people I saw on the Brooklyn Bridge today, I was like, yes, yes.
Yeah, yes, I support them. Those are my heroes.
Hey, every single one of them are heroes, telling de Blasio. But here's the thing. There are those folks who are going to go, well, it's just easier. All right, I ain't going to argue with you. But a friend was here, and his lady friend, and she said, my daughter had the shot, and 3 days later, she started acting crazy and weird. And now they're saying that she's schizophrenic. Tell people, don't get it. Don't get it. Don't get it. Because my daughter is now in a mental hospital because of what happened at the after effects. So there are people who have had really bad reactions, but it ain't coming out. So, but do what you all want to, it's your choice. But the people who are standing up saying, listen, I just don't like it. You know, I know that my niece up and around Atlanta, she's going, no, me and my girls, they're going to have to hold me down. That no. I'll take them out of school, but no. So, and she's not a conspiracy theorist, you know. She is along with a lot of other people are just saying, you ain't going to make me do this. That's
and I think that's exactly right. I think the line has been drawn, and the people who don't want it aren't going to get it, and the people who want it have already gotten it, and there's not going to be too many people, you know, in between switching sides anymore. I mean, it's been long enough. Now the thing is with the children, that's another case for another day. So we're gonna put together, David, you can come on. We got I'm gonna put together a round table with some people, and I'm gonna have like 4, maybe 5 at the most, and I'm gonna do a show, and this will be put on Brighteon, because the Brighteon channel, Milky Way Soul Tribe Brighteon channel, which is in the description below, go subscribe to it. We're gonna have a round table on there, and David, you're welcome to come, and we're gonna voice our opinions without saying, you know what, in the and the and the woohoo, you know, see what I'm saying? So we can speak our minds. And if we want to get mad as hell and I ain't taking it anymore, we can say that too. How about that?
Yep. And
you in on it?
to that point, I was looking through some of the many channels that I have subscribed to over the years to keep up with stuff. And so many people that I have missed over the last month or so, their channels are gone.
Yeah.
I don't mean they're just, there's no history and they've been on for 10 years and there's no history, there's nothing. Completely gone, that these folks never existed.
Well, I know you say the wrong word, and they demonetize you, they throw you out, they ban your channel. Look at Jeffrey Dartrey. I listen to him a lot, and all of a sudden, eventually he started speaking out a little bit, and poof, his channel's gone. Then he did move to Rockfin. So if you want to go find Jeffrey, he is on Rockfin. I listen to him on there. He's still got the great stuff as always. He's awesome as ever. Still got that nasty, gnarly spirit as always. So if you want to check him out, he is on Rockfin. So anyway, so we've had somebody say, are you going to pull a card?
You know what? I was going to do that earlier, and I had company, but I will. If you think we got time.
Just pull a card. We're already going. Yeah, I'm pretty mad. Let's go, Brandon. All right, Lucky Stone.
It's interesting that in less than a year, you know, basically 9 months time, how the country is turned on good old Joe, you know.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah.
And I'm pleased that folks are going, what did we do? What were we thinking? It's like, okay, I'm not saying I was right or nothing, but okay, because sometimes people, I'm shuffling cards, but
yeah.
Sometimes people just have to learn on their own. I mean, it's like, you tell a young kid, don't put your hand on the stove, it's hot. Don't put your hand in the fire, it'll burn you. It's not until they get burnt that they don't touch it anymore, because they don't believe you, you know?
Yeah.
And we all went through it. So there's certain things in life that we just have to experience ourselves in order for us to really get it. You know, and sometimes some people, have to get burned 2 or 3 times.
I know. Some people just don't learn, do they? Oh,
Okay,
wow.
so my card for tonight is somebody out there is wanting one. So
Jill Jarrett has been saying card, 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 and she's got a big thumbs up, says card. There you go. Oh boy. What'd you get? What do we get? What do we get?
interesting. I pulled this card the other night, but bear, because we were just talking about the bear story.
Uh-huh.
And also sort of a parent card is the lynx, but bear is the main one. It's number 5 in the book. And it's all about introspection. And there's a lot about bear that I just really get. So, so bear medicine. And so people would say, well, you know, Dave, Hawkeye, what do you do about bear medicine? What you do is just, maybe you just picture a smoky bear in your head or something, or a grizzly or a black bear or a teddy bear or something. But it's the idea of bear. So it's not you that you want the bear to possess you. You kind of sort of want to possess it, the essence of what the bear means. So just think about a bear, you know.
Think about a bear.
It really ain't hard. Just think about a bear, any particular one. And you can think of multitudes of, you can think about a polar bear or a black. So there are no rules on how you do it, okay? But don't make it hard on yourself. So introspection, bear, invite me into the cave where silence surrounds the answers you gave. The strength of bear medicine is the power of introspection. It lies in the West on the great medicine wheel of life. Bear seeks honey or the sweetness of truth within the hollow of an old tree. In the winter, when the ice queen reigns and the face of death is upon the earth, bear enters the womb cave to hibernate, to digest the year's experience. That's a nice way of putting it. It is said that our goals reside in the West also. To accomplish the goals and dreams that we carry, the art of introspection is necessary. That rhymes. To accomplish the goals and dreams that we carry, the art of introspection is necessary. To become like bear and enter the safety of the womb cave, we must attune ourselves to the energies of the eternal mother and receive nourishment from the placenta of the great void. The great void is the place where all solutions and all answers live in harmony with the questions that fill our realities. If we choose to believe that there are many questions to life, then we must also believe that the answers to those questions reside within us. Each and every being has the capacity to quiet the mind, enter the silence, and know, in italics. Many tribes have called this space of inner knowing the dream lodge, where the death of the illusion of physical reality overlays the expansiveness of eternity. Now that's a heavy duty sentence right there. I'm going to read it over. This place of inner knowing is called the dream lodge, where the death of illusion of the physical reality overlaps the expansiveness of eternity. It is in the dream lodge that our ancestors sit in council and advise us regarding alternative pathways that lead us to our goal. This is the power of bear. The female receptive energy that for centuries has allowed visionaries, mystics, and shamans to prophesy is contained in this very special bear energy. In India, the cave symbolizes the cave of Brahma. Brahma's cave is considered to be the pineal gland that sits in the center of the 4 lobes of the brain. If one were to imagine an overview of the head, the top would be the circle, the south would be the forehead, the north, the back of the skull, the west would be the right brain, and the east, the left brain. Bear is in the west, the intuitive side, the right brain. To hibernate, a bear travels to the cave, which is the center of the 4 lobes, where the pineal gland resides. In the cave, bear seeks answers while he or she is dreaming or hibernating. Bear is then reborn in the spring, like the opening of spring flowers. For eons, all seekers of the dream time and of visions have walked the path of silence, calming the internal chatter, reaching the place of rites of passage, the channel or the pineal gland. From the cave of Bear, you will find the pathway to the dream lodge and the other levels of imagination and consciousness. And choosing Bear, the power of knowing has invited you to enter the silence and become acquainted with the dream lodge so that your goals may be concrete realities. This is the strength of Bear. Now, it was upside down, but so I'm just going to read the contrary because there's this is a positive message, but you know, being upside down, there might be an even more to it. If you've drawn Bear reversed, your internal dialogue may have confused your perception of your true goals. Your internal dialogue may have confused your perception of your true goals. In other words, you know, there are sometimes you want something so bad you convince yourself that you need it. Your internal dialogue may have confused your perception. Okay. In seeking answers or advice from others, you may have placed your own feelings and your own knowing aside. The time has come to regain your authority, for no one knows better than yourself what is proper and timely for your evolution. Reclaim the power of knowing. Find joy in the silence and the richness of the mother's womb. Allow the thoughts of confusion to be laid to rest as clarity emerges from the west, nurturing your dreams as the Mother Earth nourishes us all. Bear in the contrary position is teaching you that only through being your own advisor can you attain your own true goals. Anything less than doing of that which gives you the most joy is actually denial. I want to read that again. To achieve anything less than doing of that which gives you the most joy is denial. To achieve happiness, you must know yourself. To know yourself is to know your body, your mind, and your spirit. Use your strengths to overcome your weaknesses and know that both are necessary in your evolution. Journey with Bear to the quietness of your cave and hibernate in silence. Dream your dreams and own them. Then in strength, you will be ready to discover the honey waiting in the tree of life. Take back your authority. And it seems to be kind of what's happening today in this world is people are finding we were just talking about it before I pulled the card, see? So it's like
the knowing. I like that part. You said the knowing.
And nobody can, you know, the government can't tell you what's right for you. Nobody else can tell you what's right for you. They can have suggestions, but and take back your authority. So I was going to pull a card before we started tonight, right? And the spirit said, nah, hang off. But to see the bear upside down come out at this time, having had a little story about Bear, none of this was planned ahead of time. So the synchronicity of it, but I think that this message, and for people to be quiet. So if there's too much confusion in your life, maybe to just focus on a picture of a bear or watching bear, you know, watch a video of bears in nature and just kind of go with it, you know, that might be your hibernating. It doesn't mean you got to get depressed and curl up in a ball, or that's not what this means. And so with the prayer that I always give, ain't that strange? I went right to the page. The links card was in behind this, which is sort of the strength card. And it's links and it's secrets. Links, you know the secrets so well, the dream time and the magic, but you will never tell. May I learn to hold my tongue, observe like the Sphinx, powerful yet silent, the medicine of links. Links is the keeper of the secrets of lost magical systems and the occult knowledge. Links has the ability to move through time and space and to go into the great silence. Now, this is related because Bear is in the great silence in the dream lodge. So these two cards are related right there. So Links medicine is a very specific type of clairvoyance. If this medicine is strong with you, you will get mental pictures concerning other peoples and places and the exact things they have hidden either from themselves or with others. You will see their fears, their lies, and their self-deceptions. You will also know where they have hidden the treasure, if there is any. So with that, so going with Bear and hibernating to find the answers, there is Lynx who's giving you will not be deceived. You're going to find the truth. You'll know the secrets. So if you're trying to get advice from somebody or whatever, and the best advice is from us, as Bear says, but in this day and time right now, I can't think of better medicine really to pass on to folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really can't.
I think that is a super good thing. I mean, it is. Yeah. Be a bear. Be a bear.
Take back your authority, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, but take back your authority. And as I keep telling folks over the many years, when I say, I pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. The universe is the womb. It's the placenta of us. It's all things are within the universe. So it's not that it's just here on earth. So we can accept things from the universe that we're not even aware of. But in that, with what Bear teaches is that's just it. Mother Earth and the energy, all of this stuff is all around us, So yeah, there you go. Yeah. So quit searching for it. It's right beside you.
Jill Jarrett says, what card deck is that?
It's called Medicine Cards. It's a book. It's Sams and Carson, put out by Bear and Company. But many folks that on my channel and here have bought these cards, and they're medicine cards, animal cards. But they bought them from Amazon or whatever, and I don't know, they're about $20-$30 depending on where you get them. But my one thing is that for anybody who might get these cards or any other kind of cards, tarot or otherwise, don't overuse them. Please do yourself a favor. Don't overuse them. There are folks that want to know on a daily basis what the hell the cards are saying. Quit asking. Give it a rest. Once or twice a week, maybe.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. Once a week, get that bear. Like today, we get the bear knowledge, and then go forth with it and work with it. And then, next week we'll come up with another card, and then maybe that's the one that was meant to help you next week, right?
Yeah, because situations are always changing. So our adapting is one of the things that's most important right now. Of all the things we could ever be learning is how to adapt. So in your area, wherever it might be with preparedness or something, find out what's in your area. For God's sakes, what I got in my area and in my backyard and stuff ain't what other folks have.
Yeah.
So, but you have to find out what's in your own backyard, because we're all praying nothing bad happens. But some of these folks are crazy. Some of these folks are just flat out crazy. So, man, we have to deal with crazy people. It's like dealing with a drunk. You don't deal with them. You might punch them out and stick them in the back of the car, but the idea is that at this particular point, we haven't done that. But the people on the Brooklyn Bridge today was dealing with a drunk.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's dealing with a drunk.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, well, I guess that's about it. Renee Hutchins says, what was the link? Yes, I did listen to Jeffrey Dr. Sure did. Yeah, he's on Rockfin. I don't have a link right now, but it's on Rockfin. Go to Rockfin and look for the Christian whistleblower. He'll be on there on Rockfin. That's what it is. He still does his show on there. It's great. Check him out. He had a good one on there the other day. So some good stories. Deborah Track says, thank you. Great stories. And
thank you, Deborah, and everybody who showed up.
Isby has got 12 decks now. He's got the animal medicine deck too. And I guess that's about it, as I see our audience is dwindling a little bit. But we did have a few people show up late in the day, and thank you all for coming. We got to get going, because guess what? I got to go to work tomorrow. and on Thursday night, we got Zigzagzilla coming on. So don't be afraid to come back and tune in for that. And if I feel like it, maybe I'll do something tomorrow. I don't know, but maybe I'll have to prepare for Zigzag on Thursday. But Thursday, it's Zigzagzilla. We're going to talk about your health. Bring your health questions. Zigzag's right onto that. And he's going to be answering and suggesting. And our theme is going to be like trying to prepare to be healthy for the winter, which is a heck of a good thing. So there you go, everybody.
Stock up on vitamin C so you don't get scurvy.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's always good to have a little vitamin C. It goes a long way. And with that, we are wow, long in the tooth, an hour and 35 minutes. Holy cow. But it was a great night. And I'm probably going to break a few of these stories up and make some Milky Way shorts out of it, because it was a good night. Some great stories. Thank you, David Null, for coming on. And
thank you always, Robert.
We will do this again right away. Next week, maybe.
All right. Blessings,
all right,
everybody. Be safe.
Yes. Be the frequency you want to receive. And I love you all.
Cheers.
And we'll see you next time. Yay.